What's up, everybody? My name's Clinton Campbell, back with Market Moves, and today we're going to be talking about taxes. I know that there's a lot of people out there wondering how the wealthy are able to get away with zero tax or very little tax, be able to revenue $2, $3, $4, $10 million and pay very little on tax. There's a very simple formula, and I'm very excited to show it with you guys. So the question today is, how does the wealthy not pay for tax? It's a multi-step process, so we'll keep it small. First, you have employee, which 90% of Americans are employees, just like you were trained in school. You go to school, you get an education, you're an employee for 30, 35 years, you retire when you're 65, 60, whenever, and you go to the Bahamas and you enjoy your retirement, play golf, drink beer with your buddies, watch college football, I don't know. But E's for employees. S, well, let's just say you decided that you were going to start a Wabba Jabba, and well, that's your small businesses there. You have your B, as in big businesses. That's what the B stands for. Typically 500 employees or more. And your E, or your I, is your professional investors. Okay, so your E is your employees, and typically around the world, you're going to be getting taxed 40%. A lot of people say you get a pay stub or something along those lines, you're going to notice that you're going to get taxed 40%. Let me write that a little bit bigger for people. This is 40%. S, again, stands for small business, self-employed, whatever. You'd be surprised, they pay more into taxes, and the reason why, they got to pay themselves plus their employees if they're not in self-employed. That's if they're a small business. For like an example, a pizza shop, coffee shop, maybe an ice cream parlor, something along those lines. And they're typically looking about roughly 60%. And what's really hard with small businesses is that they may do really, really well for a year or two and do really, really, really well. And then you'll notice that they'll try to do some upgrades. They'll just do a bunch of different things to their company. And a lot of times at the end of the year, they're not going to be able to pay this amount of tax. And that's a reason why small businesses fail, and they fail very, very, very fast. That is the reason why. On to the other side of things, we have B for big business, and typically they get taxed 20% roughly. And you're thinking, well, how can a big business with all those employees only get taxed 20%? Well, the difference between a small business and a big business is with your tax laws and the way the government kind of puts everything out to be, and your incentives is these guys are allowing more jobs, job opportunities, there's more employment to be around, and that's the way with incentives, that's the way the government is allowed to only tax them 20%. One of my favorite companies right here is, look at Amazon. With their recent move going on, they're able to almost have little to no tax. And you would think with a big company like Amazon, they're able to get all the benefits because of their employees and third-party companies. They're actually able to get significantly less than 20% because of all the different things that they're able to do with the job opportunities and sales tax. Now we have I. I stands for professional investor. And before I get into this one, you do not have to be wealthy for this. You just got to start, and that's kind of the biggest thing that people can't wrap their head around. It's not about being wealthy to do this. This is 0% tax. You do not have to be wealthy to be in this category. You do not have to be wealthy to be in this category. There's wealthy people that are employees. My sister, she's going to go be a doctor, and she's going to be $300,000, $400,000 in debt in student loans. That's bad debt, which we'll go into another video on good debt and bad debt. And that's bad debt. But because she got a job, a very, very high-paying job, she's going to be able to pay that off, and everything's going to be fine. Lawyers, they're pretty wealthy, but they're still going to get hit with 60%. Doctors, you could be the most paid foreman on the pipeline and still get taxed 40%. You're still an employee of the business. Getting back to I, the reason why I is so significant and with 0% tax is that's what the government wants. The government wants food, housing, job products, employment. They're wanting those things. That's allowing more people to come into our cycle. That's allowing more people to come in. The government is giving you incentives to put your money over here. Basically, the people over here are consumers, and that's what they are doing. These people are putting their money back to create more jobs, more wealth, a better running government system as a whole. So going back to I'm going to tell you a little story about a kid that I know. He never went to school, and his mom gave him 10 chickens, and they were able to lay 10 eggs a day. That's what they were able to produce. They were able to produce 10 eggs a day. Well, about retirement time, he ended up making 10 million eggs a day. So my question is, how much tax do you think he paid? He paid little to none. So here I'm going to now tell you guys the formula of what bigger businesses are doing, what I have found out, as in, it's not a loop, it's just reality. And what big businesses are doing, I call it the hamburger flip. And basically, this is what fast food restaurants are doing, and McDonald's has done this to a T, and if you think McDonald's is paying a lot in taxes, well, you thought wrong. And, well, basically, and he says it in there's a documentary about McDonald's, I think it's called Frontier or something along those lines, and he actually talks about this in his story, and if you haven't seen it, you ought to really, really check it out. So basically, this is McDonald's, and they have, their McDonald's stand, or whatever the case may be. They're making hamburgers, and you would think that McDonald's is getting paid by hamburgers. I mean, they are, but they aren't. Well, they buy one hamburger for $1. You see what I did there? They bought the hamburger for $1. You, as the consumer, you buy that hamburger for $6. You see what I did there? So that means there's a remaining of $5. What they do with this money depends on what they fall under in the taxes. So I really want you guys to pay attention here. This $5 that we have from our hamburger, once they sell, we'll say 100 hamburgers. Obviously, okay, we'll say 1,000 hamburgers. That's going to give you $50,000 total. That's $50,000 total. What they do, instead of spending the money, upgrading things and doing that, they buy more real estate. Those are terrible houses, but they buy more real estate. Not only do they buy the real estate, if you check out McDonald's, typically they have the best real estate in the area, and that's what they do. So, with that happening, and this producing the same amount as what this store was, well, now they have 3 stores that are producing that. So now they take that $150K Where I got the 150K, this bought 3 different property. This one property bought 3 different properties, and they were able to generate 150K. Well, that was the first year. The second year, well, they're going to buy more. They're going to buy, they had 3, and typically after this cycle happens, they normally double. So I'm not going to draw 6 houses. I'm just going to draw 6 squares. All right, so now you have 6 houses. And this is what McDonald's is doing to not pay hardly anything in tax. And the beauty of McDonald's doing all of this is if McDonald's were to roll over and say, we're going to ban McDonald's from the US, we're going to do all this, they are sitting on thousands, millions worth of dollars of property. You don't think that property has a resale value? I forgot to tell you, it's the best real estate in the area. That property is going to sell for high, and that's how they are able to get rid of that. So, with that being said, I wasn't going to do this in the video, but since I'm on the topic, I might as well. So with that being said, I would like to give you guys a more real-life experience on something that I'm wanting to do myself. So, for an example, unfortunately, I fell on the left side of that graph, and I'm an employee. And yes, unfortunately, I'm getting taxed 40%. It's like 41.2% to be exact. So, I would like to give you guys this scenario of what I'm trying to do to get myself out of that and to put myself onto the right side of the chart. So right now I have my own house that I bought in February. I love my house. There's nothing better. Got a nice little door, got some windows. Yeah, whatever. Little forest is in there if anyone who does know me. So basically I have this house. It's considered bad debt. And you wouldn't think that, but it's considered bad debt because as an employee, if all of a sudden I lose my job or if things get sour, well, this is on a mortgage. The bank, I don't own this house. The bank owns this house. So this is actually considered bad debt. Everybody says, hey, real estate, it's good debt, whatever, but I have to front this money to put it in here. If I don't do it, I'm going to lose this house. So what I have done is I've asked 2 people to room with me, plus 2. I asked 2 people to room with me. This is not my exact mortgage, but this is for an example. $1,000 is my mortgage. With them 2 boys living in there, I'm going to ask them for $600. Again, this is my house. So with them having $600, that obviously is $1,200. So I'm looking at $1,000 as my mortgage, and then $1,200 worth of cash flow. So what I have done here is caused $200. I'm getting paid $1,200 for my house. I'm getting $200 of cash flow. If you would have watched yesterday's video, cash flow is good. But I'm going to show you, again, what you can do with this cash flow. Say I lived in this house for 4 years. Not only did they hammer my mortgage, because, again, like we did yesterday, we talked about PITI. And this is your principal, interest, tax, insurance. That is wrapped with my mortgage. So my taxes are wrapped in my mortgage that is being paid by my roommates. So what this has done is create $200 worth of cash flow. We'll say 4 years from now, I don't want to live in the house. So I've generated $9,600 worth of cash flow. I can take this money and spend it. Then I'm being taxed. But I'm going to decide that I'm going to buy another rental property. And the way that the tax works in America, I am opening up another home for somebody else with my extra cash flow that I decided to do with my own house. So I decide I'm still going to live in this house. My roommates are still there. I'm still gaining $200 worth of cash flow. I now have this new residence. So I start a new mortgage. And let's say this is a little bit cheaper because, this is about 10% down on a house. Just for the video purposes, we're going to do $90,000 house, which is very, very, very doable, especially for a rental property. So you spent $90,000, you put basically 10,000 or 10% down on your $90,000 house. So what you do from there is you have a mortgage. We'll say $90,000. We'll do 30 years. You're looking $650 into your mortgage. Well, this house has got 2 people living in it. It's not as much, so I'm not going to charge them as much because it's not furnished and they don't have all the good stuff like this house. So I'm only going to charge $800. So now each month, because I'm charging $800 here, I'm getting an extra $150 a month cash flow. So now every month I'm gaining $200 plus $150. Obviously, $350. Well, the beauty of how all of this works, I've lived in this house now for 5-6 years. The principle, which we learned yesterday, is this P. Well, the principle, that creates leverage on your equity. So that 5 years that you've had every month $200 extra, well, that goes into here, buys another property, you come down, you create more cash flow. Well, say you decide to sell this house. Well, I bought the house, let's just say for $150,000. And because I have other people paying my debt, it's down to $100,000. See what I did there? You got 60 months. You pay in $50,000. Like I said, our mortgage was $1,000. So you're looking at $50K into equity already. That's just your numbers. That's not saying, hey, you might have bought the house with a little bit less or a little bit more into equity or a little bit better percentage, but instead you made $50K in equity plus the $9,600 in cash flow. So if you didn't buy this house, you're looking at $59,600 in about 5 years.
Nikki on the track.
I